Welcome to the Urban Cowgirl Show, training our horses and miniature cows in ranch versatility. Penning Rusty and Susie, our bull and heifer. Roping Rusty with Morgan horse, Semi. Training Eve to drive cart. Training Eve to work over her haunches with a motor cow simulator. Training Eve to lay down. Training Eve to harness, pull a log. Training Semi to harness, pull a log on turf. Jumping at liberty to music, making our Morgan horses our partners. Training Eve on a cow roping simulator. Training on our driveway, which is covered by sand, so we have a straight track. Stepping over poles, jumping over crossbar jumps. Training in our trail obstacles area. Semi on the big steps. Morgan horse Sadie doing obstacles rainlessly. Sadie learns how to pull a cart. Mini Zebu heifer Susie being trained to drive a cart. Bull Rusty learning to pull a harrow. Sadie and Demi at the large arena of Santa Cruz County Horsemen's Association grounds. We're gonna work on just keeping her calm out here in strange places. And you can see she's not calm yet. So number one is staying calm. Safety is number one. So if we just walk around here in this big arena, at first, that's all we'll do. That's fine. Coming into the arena as well is Demi. Double track Demi Moore and Jill, her owner. They are going to be here doing similar athletic tasks. Demi and Sadie know each other, so they'll probably give each other comfort. We're hoping so. We haven't been here for several months. It is almost the rainy season, but you can see that the arena is dry and in good shape at this time, which is mid-November. And I am Sonia Sokolow, the Urban Cowgirl, just documenting our efforts today and our accomplishments today with Sadie and Demi, both Morgan mares. We are going to be, if we can feel comfortable doing it today, working with some of Tommy Garland's ideas about the best way to transition to a canter without encouraging crossfire. And as we do it, I'll explain it. I'll explain the principles. But right now we're just warming up. So I'll turn the camera off, turn it back on again when there's something to show you and something to say. Been about 5 minutes. We're warming up. Sadie just did a beautiful side pass without even the necessity of a fence or wall in front of her. Demi, as you can see, is very nicely put together in her jog. Beautiful vertical flexion, seemingly collected. And Sadie is being asked to move her body parts. Looks like Rosie's trying to get her to move forequarters and hindquarters. Yes, yes, good. We want back legs to pivot when we move forequarters, and we want front legs to pivot when we move hindquarters, and when we move hindquarters we want the back legs to step over each other. And when we move the forequarters with the intention of doing a spin of any degree, we want the outside leg to step over, yes, the inside leg. We're not aiming for reining, so to speak, which is a highly competitive sport done in an arena, but we want to be able to do the reining maneuvers wherever we want to do them, including in a large arena. And that's what we're going to be practicing today. Sadie's now being asked to jog in a circle. You can see that she doesn't have vertical flexion. I'm quite sure that Rosie's not asking for it at this time. She simply wants a safe, comfortable jog. Remember, this is a very large arena in a relatively strange place for my coming 4-year-old Sadie. So we need to keep her focused on what we're requesting, and we're not being too strenuous in what we request. Demi is 13 years old and has been asked to do a lot of things in her 13 years on this earth, and does them all quite well. And you can see many programs featuring double track Demi Moore doing what she does well in ranch horse versatility, including jumping. Jill likes to do jumping with Demi, and we may get to doing some today here at SCCHA. We'll see how the session goes. As you can see, they work together, they work apart, they each are task-oriented, and each rider has their goals in mind and their communication methods in use. The last time we worked Sadie, which was yesterday, we worked her in a very small area, my 44-foot square pen. Today, we're asking her to be versatile and work in a very large area here at SCCHA. Sadie is now just being asked to walk and do some hind end and front end maneuvers. We can watch Rosie using her leg pressures and her dressage quirt as an arm extension, asking Sadie to move certain body parts. Now, if you're trying to get your horse to move forequarters, logically you'd put your leg pressure near the shoulder. If you're trying to move rib cage and side pass, the leg pressure is near the middle of the body. And if you're trying to move the hips, your leg pressure goes toward the back. You can use training aids such as quirts and spurs, especially for encouraging and making your cues clear for lateral motion. Asking Sadie to pick up a canter. She's showing some resistance in her mouth. And, as you can see, some whoopiness, which we need to deal with because Sadie is only 4 years old and doesn't quite understand that whoopee kind of behavior, kicking up the back heels, for example, is not the right answer. She started to whoopee when the speed request increased, which is logical. So Rosie will wisely tone down her requests, take smaller steps. Safety number one. Can use smaller circles too. Small circles, sit deep in the saddle. Train for a slow lope. Large circles, don't sit deep in the saddle. Cues for a faster lope. Principles of reining in an arena. But we want to be able to do large circles slowly too, and small circles with speed too. So our cues are going to have to be properly associated with what the right answers are. And that will take time and repetition, patience and confidence, focus and respect. You can see that Demi is more focused on Jill's requests and structurally more appropriate. That is collected than is Sadie. But we'll be working towards getting that structural correctness with Sadie with repetition, time, and patience. Rosie is posting, which should mean to Sadie that Rosie is still requesting a trot, but perhaps faster than a western jog, perhaps. I'm sure that Rosie can feel whether or not she has the focus of Sadie, and she will appropriately ask for speed when it's safe to do so. This kind of exercise done in a small arena or a walled arena is a very different request than what we're doing today in a very, very large arena in a strange place. Notice how Rosie is using her arm extension to touch Sadie's hip, at this time on her right hip, without having to move her arm, which is holding the rein on the right side. You want to make sure that your training aids are appropriate for your requests. A short riding crop would not be appropriate at this time. See Demi off in the distance. See her controlled gaits with the help of zoom focus. Oh, and here comes Sadie a little bit closer up, being asked to canter. And she's getting praise. I can hear Rosie saying, "Good girl," to Sadie. Still in the canter circle. She'll be coming by in a second. There she is. And she's getting praise. Time to let the horses be together. Let the riders relax. Both Demi and Sadie have been working hard for this first half hour or so of this session, 15 minutes of which is now on camera. When do you call a session done? Well, it's kind of up to the riders, up to the schedule, what's next in the schedule of the riders, up to how are the horses behaving. Is it time to say, that's enough, you've given me the right answers, I'm going to give you the reward of letting you relax, which is what horses like to do the most. Rosie is working on getting that hip into the arena, and then once the hip has been placed inward, a canter transition is requested, and then eventually the horse understands that when the hip is inward and we transition, we want canter. And that's in contrast to going from a walk to a jog or trot. A walk to a canter, we're going to cue by first moving the hip inward. And that's going to take time and repetition. It's not automatic. See, if you ask for a speed change when you're jogging or trotting, if you ask for an upward transition, it's logical to your horse to then do a 3-beat canter. But if you're going from a walk and want to go straight into the canter, how do you tell your horse that you don't want them just to transition into a jog, you want them to transition into the 3-beat canter or lope? Well, we're going to do it by teaching our horses that when the hip is asked to go on the inside of the circle, and we then ask for an upward transition with leg pressure, that we're to go into the 3-beat gait. It's probably premature to even try this today, so we probably won't try it, but in an arena this size, it's quite challenging to ask for a figure 8 using either the half of the arena or the whole arena, and at the point of switching arcs, in other words, at the cross of the 8 in the middle, ask for a flying change of lead. That is an advanced task that we're going to be working on when the time is right. A simple change of lead helps to teach that task. That is, once you're ready to switch your arc and go into the other half of the 8, the figure 8, you bring your horse down into a trot or a jog, and then as soon as the arc is on the other bubble of the 8, you ask again for the canter with the correct lead. Rosie's going to tell us how she feels the session has gone and what she wants to do next.
Well, I think it's gone great. For what it's worth, I think we're working on exactly what needs to be worked on with Sadie, which is just using her body correctly. She doesn't do, we don't have space to do very much work like this where she lives. We have a small arena and narrow, not that long, like tracks of driveway, and we can't work in big areas like this. And she needs these big spaces, but also not just this space, but the space is just a good space to do it. What we're working on a lot today was using her body correctly, particularly at the canter, because she just doesn't do very much canter work. What we've been doing a lot recently, especially because it's got a little bit colder and rainier, is a lot of like obstacles and groundwork and that kind of thing, and lateral motion, which is great, and like she's getting really good at it, but that doesn't help her athleticism. And so the fact, the plain fact is, I think that it's hard for her to canter and correctly. So today was like physical therapy, kind of. So I get her cantering, collected underneath her. We couldn't quite do what I was initially thinking we might try, which is like the walk canter transition while getting her to do like a little bit of a haunches in. She just isn't very good at that transition yet, and putting all these things together of haunches in and walk to canter and taking the right lead and being close to the rail, like all these things. So we're mostly just working on trot to canter, which is hard enough. She doesn't do it instantly. You have to give her a little bit of prodding, especially like right at the beginning of the session. That's because I was carrying this little stick here to tap her with, which she also doesn't always respect right away, and then you have to give her a little pop. But then she gets much better right away, pretty much. And then so I would get her to have the same sort of body setup. Like the idea of doing the haunches in and getting them to take the canter there from the rails is to get them to be collected and to lift off their inside shoulder. And while I can't really achieve that with her initially, during the canter transition, the transition into the canter, once she's cantering, that's what I'm working on, like using a lot of inside leg and using my seat to try to get her to round her back, and if I'm using the inside leg to get her to reach forward with her inside hind leg, that takes, and she's taking more weight with her hind end, then she can lift off her shoulders more easily and round with her back and use herself more correctly and be more balanced. And so because she's not very balanced yet, when we go around turns, when we try to turn at the canter, she falls in a lot because she just can't hold herself correctly. But if I really ask her really persistently to hold herself correctly, then we can take these turns correctly. And she gets better and better as you've been riding. You saw those last couple times around, she was doing much better. And also once I can get her to turn, if I get her to turn correctly, sometimes then when I ask her to go straight again, she's still like, wait a minute, I can't go straight now, I'm turning, and then her body's a little confused, and then I have to hold her between my legs really firmly, and then she's like, oh yeah, straight, I can do straight, but then it's like circling again. Anyway, so it's difficult for her. Not just because she hasn't done it very much, not just her mind, but for her body also, which I absolutely understand. she's young. She hasn't had to do this very much. I don't blame her at all. But she's very willing to do it, and she's getting a lot better by the end, and she certainly got a good workout, and so did I.
And you know what? Nature's playing a trick on us because they both Demi and Sadie have heavy coats now, and all of a sudden it's spring-like weather, so they're both about ready for a hose-off today.
Oh, yeah.
And Jill, we absolutely loved watching Demi and her collection. Is there anything that you felt she could improve on or you want to work on next?
Oh yeah, we're working on transitions because she has a hard time transitioning from the trot to the walk. She'll transition down, but then she gets a lot of anxiety and she wants to go back and trot. So we really have to work on getting her relaxed at the walk and just easing in and out of transitions. So we did a lot of walk trot transitions and canter trot transitions. So yeah, so we have a lot of work to do there. But she had a lot of energy.
Well, she looked beautiful, and it was very obvious that Sadie is younger and less refined in her training. It was very obvious, as you will see when you watch this video, the difference between our mature double-track Demi Moore and our still a baby Shadrach Sun and Shine Sadie. And by the way, last year when I was trying to get ready for an obstacles schooling show, I contacted the person who was putting the show on, and I said, if you were at home trying to get ready for your schooling show for obstacles, what would you be working on? And she said transitions. That surprised me. You know, I always work on desensitization and sensitization and moving forequarters and moving hindquarters. And in fact, she said transitions because the difference between those who scored well and those who didn't score well in the obstacles mostly came when a horse was asked to do an obstacle at a different speed. So you need to be able to smoothly do transitions to the various speeds while you're doing not just work around an arena, but work anywhere, especially if you're a ranch versatile horse. Well, we enjoyed today, and I think we're going to have a few more weeks of spring-like weather and fall, and maybe we can come again. And if we do, we'll show you. www.urbancowgirlchannel.com.
Our cast of characters: Sadie and Eve, Sammy, Rusty and Susie, www.thesocolos.com.